Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 10 of the British Boxing Blog podcast. Coming to you. Oh, shut up, man.
Sorry, we'll keep going. One of us, that's Stephen there, struggling a little bit, but he nearly got through an introduction.
Man flu. Yes, coming to you directly from Gated. The day after
Groves-Eubank. Oh God.
Yes, the day after Groves-Eubank last night. Yes. Thoughts?
Well, we both watched it in slightly different environments, I think.
We did.
But my thoughts weren't too different from how I actually saw it going, and that doesn't happen too often. Normally something changes, but beforehand, I think the main attraction of it, apart from all the hype and the verbals between the two camps, was the amount of questions that people were asking, and you didn't know the answers. You had, will Groves' jab be able to keep Eubank off him? Will Eubank's work rate be too much for Groves? Will he get to him eventually? How much is the damage that Groves has had in the past affecting him? How will that play a part? And to be honest, there's only one of them I think really got the answers, and that was regarding Groves' jab.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
He, from the first round, he got it out there. He kept the distance, and for basically the best part of 12 rounds, Eubank didn't have a plan B.
No.
He didn't have an answer to it, and therefore he couldn't provide the answers to the other questions. We still don't know whether Groves could have lived with Eubank being on top of him for 12 rounds, because he just didn't have the...
He didn't get near him.
I don't know if you want to call it down to like his skills, his footwork, is it his boxing intelligence? Whatever it is, he lacked something that meant he could get in and actually
Do you think it was naivety on the part of Eubank and Team Eubank that they could just treat George Groves like his previous opponents and he would ultimately just walk them down like he has everyone else, and he sort of found his match this time, and it was, whenever Eubank set himself and looked to unload, he ended up with another jab straight in his face again, and he couldn't do it. And I think again, once that failed, there was no plan B there from Eubank at all. Do you know what I mean? There was no
100%.
There was no boxing skills. There was just a lot of swinging and missing, and it was wild at times.
I think the fact you said there, Team Eubank, they collectively have to take the responsibility for that. And Senior spoke a bit of sense in the aftermath.
Didn't
he gave a sort of quite eloquent interview, and
really good interview,
and pointed out Junior's flaws. He probably would have been better suited, and it's not easy for me to say now, but better suited doing that in the build-up. All through the sort of the lead up to this fight, it's been about what Junior can do, how dangerous he is, how Groves isn't going to live with him, Groves is just another opponent, blah blah blah. And I think, to be honest, that went to Eubank Jr.'s head a little bit and fed into his ego, and he did walk into that fight thinking, right, I'm going to walk through him, I'm going to get to him eventually. They were relying on Groves being chinny, Groves tiring, not having the stamina, and none of those things got tested because they couldn't get past the most basic of weapons in the jab.
I think there was a couple of the later rounds that Eubank started. I think it was 9 and 10. He came out fast and he caught Groves but didn't act upon it, and it was just a bit like, I don't know. But then round 12 he had some joy, but was that because of Groves' dislocated shoulder, I guess?
Well, I think so. The fact he couldn't throw the left hand in the last round in a bit.
It's far too little too late at that point.
Even then, Groves showed a good bit of head movement and caught him with the right uppercut, and you think, well, yes, you give that round to Eubank, but I think you struggled to. I struggled to give. I didn't score it as I was watching it. I was just enjoying it. Really.
Yeah, same.
But I think overall, you struggled to give him more than 3 rounds for the push. But as I say, it wasn't like Eubank himself, and I'm talking obviously Junior here, himself, didn't have the brain or the boxing intelligence to adapt within the fight.
This is my next question.
But he didn't have that input in the corner either.
Does he, in general, have that? Senior's interview after the fight said, he should have boxed and used his boxing skills rather than just going for big power shots and that. But has he got boxing skills? And I'm not making it sound like a complete novice here, but I think
he does have a lot of very novice tendencies though. His footwork's not great,
and he's wild at times, isn't he?
He barely threw a jab. So in terms of those very simple fundamentals, yes, he probably is lacking. But then it's all very well Senior saying that afterwards. Yeah. Why isn't Senior being correct in that in the gym? Like, you've got him, you've got Ronnie Davis, two massively experienced boxing personalities.
Or halfway through the fight. Maybe it's because that's what I said earlier. Just because they underestimated Groves and they thought they could walk him down. Like
I think they probably underestimated Groves and, in the same vein, overestimated what Eubank Jr. is capable of. And their whole ethos. Like, it was, you go all the way back to the Billy Joe Saunders fight, and there were a lot of similarities in terms of starting slow, getting outboxed by someone who's technically better. And a lot of the sort of past few weeks have been the argument that he's learned from that defeat. He's had some good wins since.
Last night it didn't look like he had it all, did it?
Well, I think stylistically, if you look at his wins since Billy Joe, not one of them has been anyone who's capable of doing the same sort of thing. They've basically looked at it and thought, right, well, he struggled with a boxer. We're going to put him in against people who will stand and trade with him and therefore make him look good. And he will look impressive against someone who's similar to him and that will stand and want to have a go, because then he can stand flat-footed, unload his flurries and his impressive little uppercuts and things like that. But he doesn't have to worry about cutting off the space or moving around the ring.
Is that like B-level fighters, if you know what I mean? Because now you can argue that the two times George Groves has stepped up levels, Chris Eubank, against like elite level fighters in Billy Joe Saunders and George Groves, which they are. Do you know what I mean? Then fighters with good amateur backgrounds as well. Do you know what I mean?
I don't even think it's an argument. And I really don't.
He's struggled. He's really, really struggled. And like
a lot of the talk was how unproven Eubank is, but the more this sort of thing happens, and again, it's twice he's stepped up.
Twice now,
twice he's lost convincingly on points. It's not like he was winning the fight and got caught with a shot or anything. I think any European level boxer who can move and jab and keep the distance will fancy the chances against him.
Well, that's it.
No disrespect to his opponents, but stylistically, the likes of Spike O'Sullivan, Tom Doran, Nick Blackwell, all ones who were willing to have a bit of a tear up with him, and Eubank come off again looking impressive in those wins, and you think, oh, he has got something, he's got a bit about him, and he's basically a European fringe world level fighter. I think he beats everyone domestic level. Most of them at domestic level. I think Tommy Langford might give him problems. And obviously he pulled out of that fight previously.
That's true. No, I agree with exactly what you're saying. I think he's had a lot of hype behind him, and he's got his dad's name and stuff. And to be fair, since the Billy Joe Saunders defeat, he's bounced back quite well in the terms of like people were giving him a chance again last night.
Oh, he's ready. You know what I mean? But I think that's more down to the
hype,
the media interviews and
the
little Instagram clips and all the rest of it. And I think you've mentioned his name there. That obviously plays a massive factor. I think a large proportion of his fans are probably fans of his dad, who want to see that sort of reincarnation almost. It's a bit of a contradiction. He says that he wants to be his own man and he is his own man and all the rest of it, but he jumps over the rope like his dad. He stands with the Union Jack on, he poses.
He stands like his dad.
All the rest of it, and it's like, well, hold on, you can't have it both ways. You're going about your own way, which is fine, and I think that probably would be the best route for him. I'm not saying to disown his dad, but it's the stupid little things that annoy me. Like, why, when he's doing the media workout or he's in the gym working the pads and things, is his dad standing in the ring, like watching him so closely? It's unnecessary.
I know.
It's for effect, and that's
exactly
that drama side of it, isn't it?
I know.
I think it's all come back to bite them a little bit, and
I think last night when you look back now in hindsight, you think, like, of course Groves was going to win it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just.
But it's like, if you strip away all of the theatrics of it and the press and all the rest of it, and yes, that does play a part because it can get under the skin of certain fighters, and I think their best chance was was getting Groves into a fight.
That's it.
And it was the same as when Groves fought DeGale. DeGale was constantly at him in the build-up trying to get him to, you need to stand and trade, don't be a bottle jaw, blah, 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 and all the rest of it. And Groves didn't run by any means. He was stood centre ring for a lot of it.
Do you think Groves was always going to, like, were they just hoping Groves tired last night? Was the outcome of the fight always just going to be what Groves did or didn't do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Groves matched him, right? So Groves won it, like, and deservedly so, because he answered the questions about his stamina and whatever else. But even when Eubank was losing the first few rounds and stuff, I was sitting thinking, will Eubank mind this, or is Eubank hedging all of his bets here on Groves sort of gassing from 6-7 onwards? And
he did the same with Saunders.
But sorry, before to cut you up there, before the 12th, like, Eubank was the one time, and Groves looked the fitter, stronger man 10-11.
Well, you think about it, Eubank was the one loading up on all these punches and missing most of them. So all those wild swings are going to take it out of you. And another, again, going back to what I was saying there, the Billy Joe defeat, a lot of the arguments for Eubank in this fight were, oh, well, if he'd started quicker against Saunders. But was that not the same as we saw last night? He started slowly because that's what his opponent wanted them to do. But that was the slow, controlled pace is what Groves wanted. It's what Saunders wanted. Yeah. And all they did was very basic jab and move and throw Groves through the occasional right hand. Yeah. And it was enough to keep the distance and leave Eubank a bit clueless.
Groves hurt him at least once or twice, didn't he?
Oh, there's argue that he dropped him as well.
Yeah, I think definitely was.
And again, it's because of how ragged Eubank looked that he probably got away with them because yes, his feet were slipping and he was sliding around the ring, but I think at least one of the occasions, as he was sliding and slipping, Groves caught him and it could easily have been a knockdown.
Do you think it's naive for Eubank and his team to come into a fight against, as I said, an elite level fighter, which is what George Groves is and has been for a while? Do you know what I mean? To just think, we'll just swing, we'll just wildly swing here. You know what I mean? Like, well, surely you need a plan B.
I don't know, because from Eubank's seniors' comments after the fight, that wasn't the sort of main plan. He was criticising Junior for doing that.
He was. A good interview, that, wasn't it?
It was, but then it's all like, again, as I say, why is that after the fight? Why has he not been working on all these different things? Like, you can't expect your fighter, whether he's your son, whether he's just you're the trainer, whatever role Senior has in it, and whatever Ronnie Davis has been doing behind the scenes, you can't expect on the night to have this variation in plan A, B, and C.
No, that's true. If you only
all you've been doing is letting him do his little combinations on the bags, and he's building his fitness and stuff. You can be as fit as you want, but if you can't apply the punches, basically, if you can't land anything, then your fitness and your strength and your stamina and it's all going to go for nothing. It's basically what Grove said.
I was shocked a couple of times at just how ragged and wild he was. It's too late and they're not going to win it. I was saying to my friend I was watching it with, I was like, he looks unlicensed. He looks like a wild white collar fighter at times. Yeah, he was miles away. Well, and I just found it hard to watch from his point of view. At times, I thought, you're miles away here from anywhere,
And that'll come back. And I'm going to bring that all the way back again, stripping away all the hype and everything. You have a prospect as a boxer. Ask any trainer, any promoter, when they're matching the fighter, what they're looking for. And they want them to get the rounds in against these tough journeymen. They want them to face different styles of opponents. And we talked to Tom Hill last week, and he was saying about fighting different people, and his coach, Davey Binns, being in his ear. This is what he's going to do. You need to not get involved in his game. You need to do this, blah, blah, blah. So some fights, you're going to be the aggressor, and you're going to be loading up against someone who's defending and trying to break them down. Some fights, they're going to be a bit more aggressive. There might be a southpaw. There might be someone who's at a similar level to you. And all these different styles of fights and styles of opponents go towards the learning, whereas it seems everything that Eubank did up until the Saunders fight was based around building his reputation, letting him show off, letting him pose, letting him throw his fancy shots, stopping people that weren't anywhere near his level really. And then it's the same sort of thing. When he went, then he made a big step up to fight Saunders at British / sort of European level, and got outboxed. And then since then, it's been the same sort of thing. They've fought opponents that are suited for him. He hasn't had to show that he's learned anything. He hasn't done anything differently.
No, he hasn't. No.
He's built up a lot of momentum and a lot of hype and a lot of got the exposure and all the attention.
So much so that he goes into a fight against George Groves as the bookie's favourite.
I genuinely couldn't believe that. When I was doing the prediction, I did sort of hum and ha, and I said in that, and I still believe this, that you could have envisaged that fight going either way. Yeah. Either man could have stopped the other one. Either man could have won on points, all in different ways. I think if Groves was going to stop Eubank, it was basically what he did, catching him coming in a bit square with a big shot, dropping him and then following up. I think Eubank, if he was going to stop Groves, it would have been working him, landing him, and basically stopping him later on through accumulation of damage. Or Eubank would have outworked him over the distance and Groves hung on. Or, like we saw last night, Groves basically controlling the tempo of it, outboxing him for most of it, and cruising to a points win,
Well, that's
really.
it. The value was there last night.
But I couldn't believe that Eubank went in as the betting favourite. And again, that relates to how many people must have been lumping on him.
That's it.
How many fans he had. How many people got caught up in that hype.
How many people have sort of maybe ignored George Groves lately and just think of George Groves from, the two Froch fights and stuff.
Yeah, they will.
Ignored his fights against
the majority of fans who are going to be watching that fight will be aware of Junior because of his dad.
Yeah.
They'll be aware of Groves because of the Froch fight.
Froch 1 and 2.
And not much else.
No, that's it. But I think people that know, and I think obviously we both had money on Groves last night, you know what I mean? So and I just thought the value was there with him. I just think, should we flip it around a bit and talk about, and obviously I think in the first few minutes we've talked about the negatives of Eubank, but if we flip it around and talk about the positives of George Groves, I think it was a brilliant night for him, wasn't it, last night? He was
massively. I mean,
it was superb.
Again, you're talking about
first bell.
Go back to what we started talking about in the terms of fundamentals and everything that Eubank lacked, Groves had, and that comes from your amateur grounding, really, how you've been built as an amateur.
That was it.
The level that you fought at there, and you walk into any boxing gym or any young aspiring boxer walks into any boxing gym. The first thing you get taught is like your footwork and your jab and your movement and all the rest, all those really basic skills. And it seems that Eubank, for whatever reason, is incapable of doing them. Again, I'm going back to him, but it was so frustrating from his point of view. But again, not entirely surprising.
It is an interesting question that I think, I seen a lot of that on Twitter last night saying, you just can't beat that good amateur pedigree and that good amateur background. And I just thought, well, there must be something in that, do you know what I mean? Because he just got a sort of boxing lesson, didn't he, last night? But George was fantastic. There was a couple of things that, he's done well. He feels like this is a new phase in his career again because, after Froch 2, he was a bit shit for a while, really, wasn't he? Do you know what I mean? People say, he's been covered and, he's not going to...
there were lasting effects to that, I think.
He looked flat, he didn't look good, and we seen him in Liverpool on the what undercard was that? Bellew Cleverly 2
undercard.
Yeah.
Against
I can't even remember.
Dennis Douglan,
that was it.
And he stopped him, but he wasn't
good.
He caught shots unnecessarily.
I don't know, he just
he lost to the Badu Jack one.
He lost to Badu Jack, and he wasn't doing too well for a stage. But then I just think recently, I thought he was exceptional in the Tudorov fight.
I think if you look at it and you assess how much Groves put into it, especially the second Froch fight, I don't think that, again, Groves won't argue with this, to be honest, but I don't think Howard Foster did him any favours stopping the first one how he did.
Yeah.
It saved Groves possibly from further damage. We don't know how that one would have ended. A lot of people suspect Froch would have stopped him anyway. I think if Froch had gone on and stopped him anyway, there would have been that clearer ending, the conclusion for both Groves and Froch, whereas as it was, Groves went into the second fight probably too confident, and you could argue he carried the whole sort of promotion side of it. He was the one who championed for the rematch, he got it, he generated a lot of that interest, and obviously the ending of the first fight contributed to that as well. Then for him to lose the biggest fight of his career that he'll probably ever have in the fashion he did, getting knocked out cold, is going to have an effect on you, maybe not physically, but mentally it's going to dent your confidence at the very least.
I think that was another angle that people looked at last night, was it Naseem maybe that mentioned it before the fight or someone else, just saying, Groves is, what was he, 29, 30, and he's an old, he's been in some wars and stuff, and was Eubank going to be the younger, fresher, fitter man? And it was just, well, not really last night, actually. I thought Groves looked fantastic in there. I thought there was always questions about Groves.
That was one of the questions, wasn't it? Again,
does he tire? Does he tire from
general stamina
towards the end of a fight?
The wear and tear side of it, how much damage has been done, because he had a hard fight against Badu Jack. Even the Tudorov fight, like, he fought with a broken jaw and he had to really grit and dig deep to get that win.
Been in some absolute wars, but I thought last night,
any signs of it last night at all. He looked comfortable for the whole fight.
He looked big. He looked big. He looked strong, fresh, and I just.
He's always been a big super middleweight. I know a few of our mates were sort of saying he looked quite gaunt at the weigh-in, and even last night. But I thought he always has done, and you can't really read too much into that. I
thought he looked big in the ring last night, though. I thought he looked the bigger man.
By far, yeah, definitely.
But pleased for him, though, and I think I used to.
But I don't think it was as big a difference as some were maybe saying before, and I thought that as well. I thought, he's going to be the bigger man, and that will help him in the clinches and stuff, and it might have done. But I think it was more to do with his skill set, and as you say, his fundamentals, the boxing brain side of it.
I thought
they had a game plan, they stuck to it, it was working, and that was the difference, really. But you also think that if that hadn't been working, there would have been a plan B. That Shane McGuigan deserves massive credit for the role he's played.
I was about to say that he looks reborn, George Groves, and I think that partnership with Shane McGuigan, who hasn't probably been a good recent time for the McGuigans, the Fountain split and what have you, and but there's been some loyalty there from George, and probably works both ways. But I was made up for him last night. He's played quite a low key role in the build up, Shane McGuigan, but I think good on him.
He does that though. I like Shane in the build up to fights. He was similar in the Frampton Quigg fight. That was another very high profile fight.
Because George isn't a cyclone fighter, is he? He's a Sauerland fighter.
Yeah.
He's training and that's it. But I liked it. You know what I mean? It was they were a good match for each other. And I used to watch. Sometimes I used to, probably because of the Froch fights, I used to watch George Groves sort of through his fingers, and whenever he was against the ropes, I was like, oh,
well, even last night.
But then last night, I thought, bloody hell, he's learned how to hold and he's learned how to tie someone up, and you're thinking, he was.
Well, that was it. That was Eubank's only chance, and again, going back to their point of view, I think they were relying on Groves getting or letting the occasion get the better of him, and seeing that red mist and wanting to stand and trade. But
to be honest, he traded at times, but he backed himself in them as well. You know what I mean? He backed himself to think. Right,
but he showed good head movement as well. He wasn't just sort of planting his feet and swinging.
Yeah,
whereas obviously Eubank was, and he just picked him off for most of the fight. It was
fantastic head movement.
The only drawback, obviously, being the shoulder injury he suffered, as you mentioned earlier, partway through the 11th.
Yeah,
and obviously hung on comfortably in the 12th, to be honest, considering. But then that hopefully doesn't rule him out of the final, because there's been a bit of debate about what's going to happen with that.
Tell me, is the final date set in stone?
As far as I know, and there was a statement I saw someone post on social media this morning. I've seen that much on Twitter and Facebook this morning. I don't know who's said what, but my understanding is that Sauerland came out and said that there isn't too much wiggle room in it. It can't be put back too late, and earlier on in the tournament, they basically said if there was, for whatever reason, anyone couldn't fight, they had the reserves in place for that reason, that have been training, they're fit, they're sharp, they're strong, they'll come in at a moment's notice. Now, I would like to see a bit of common sense applied, and
especially with George Groves being a Sauerland fighter, surely they'll back him to...
You wouldn't want any leniency for that though, but
it would be a shame.
I think he's won 2 fights, he deserves the chance to fight in the final, whereas Eubank was chancing his arm wanting to get in there. Zach Parker, we will talk about in a bit more detail when we cover the undercard. He was like the reserve for last night, so if something happened to Eubank or Groves, he would have stepped in. And I don't know, I think that would just take a bit of gloss off the whole tournament, wouldn't it?
If the finalists weren't the 2 people that got to the final, basically that would be such a shame.
Even the cruiserweight one, if obviously there's entertaining fights to be made there, you wouldn't mind Dortko or Bradis stepping in as a fight, but it's not the final.
No, it's not the final.
It's not the best versus the best. The whole beauty of this tournament, the whole attraction, is that you're seeing the best take on the best.
I have a funny feel about the super middleweight final, that it won't be Callum Smith. Well, say Callum Smith, George Groves. I don't know. I just think.
Fancying Bremer.
There was I don't. I think Callum Smith will win, right? And I think you should have a Callum Smith George Groves final. I don't know. There's a nagging doubt in my mind that thinks we will see it. I don't know. Only because, and I say this, only because last night to me seemed like a final, and I just think maybe because of the personality of Callum Smith that it might be a bit of an anticlimax. Do you know what I mean? The occasion, the whole lot of it.
The actual boxing would be, but I agree with you in that if the organisers had the opportunity to pick their final from the start, it would have been Groves-Eubank Jr. because they're the 2 biggest names.
Yeah, agree.
And the fact that they were both on the same side of the draw.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Maybe
just detract a little bit, but I think if Callum Smith beats Bremer emphatically next week, which I actually expect him to do, I think he'll.
True.
I think he'll go out with a bit of a mission and want to make a statement and prove himself. And if he then goes out and stops Bremer,
then
you've got him undefeated, and suddenly the fact his career's stalled a bit, as we've talked about previously.
Then people get behind Callum Smith again.
It doesn't.
You realised it was
the momentum will build towards the final. There's enough time from now till June. to get him and Groves has been mooted for a while. Eddie Hearn had talked about it, I know, previously.
True.
And to get into another domestic clash for the world title.
It is a great fight. It is a good fight. I know I'm just being facetious, really, but I hope, like you say, I do hope Callum Smith wins and wins well, to be honest, because I think that's what he needs for his.
What I thought you were going to say
career,
about
to be honest,
it not happening is the fact that everything so far has gone very well in the tournament.
It's gone very smoothly,
and in both weight classes.
I guess that dislocated shoulder last night has left a few nagging doubts now.
And
and Chris Eubank's interview as well, thinking, oh yeah, maybe I'll get back in. You're thinking, so now a few people today are like, what's happening with this shoulder? When's the final? And you're like, oh god. But you just have
the
to
thing
say,
is, Eubank Jr. and Callum Smith would be a good fight. Like if Eubank had beat Groves and went on to be in the final against Smith, you'd be like a mouth-watering clash. Obviously, the manner I think in which he was so comprehensively beaten does take something away from that a little bit. You'd be like, oh well, he's lost, but he's still going on to the final. How does that work? And maybe a bit undeserved. Like you've got other world champions at their weight that you think surely they could try and tempt them in for a one-off match against Callum Smith.
Well, that's it. I just think
you don't know, do you? Because obviously the American guys, the Mexicans, didn't sign up for the tournament initially. So why would they now think?
I just think maybe it's actually my doubts are sort of. Not doubts, but my scepticism's coming probably just because of Callum Smith in his recent career, really. I know because I feel like he's stalled quite, and we've discussed this last week, do you know what I mean? But I don't know, I just think last night had all the glitz and the glamour and the hype of a final, and I hope that, if Callum Smith does get there, then it does go ahead and it lives up to that, that billing of a final. And it is a great boxing match, but I don't know, I just felt like last night was hopefully not the pinnacle of the middleweight.
I understand your concerns. I don't think so, because what I noticed as well, like Sky were doing sort of blow by blow commentary on their website,
right?
And they'd actually like not hyped it as such, but they'd obviously asked their pundits who were going to win, and neither of Groves or Eubank were Sky or Matchroom fighters at all. So it was nice to see that they'd actually done a little bit on it, and they'd asked all of the Sky pundits who they thought was going to win, and
true,
actually paid a bit of attention to it.
That's
They
nice,
talked to a podcast during the week. They
why do you think that is?
Ross Thompson-Jenkins was talking about with Darren Barker and Spencer Fearon, and not totally ignoring it. Like
it is good.
You can't probably really done in the past.
You can't ignore it, can you? Really? Do you think that's because they're hoping there will be a Sky/Matchroom fighter in the final, maybe, and they've now got to start giving it a bit notice?
Probably. Exit hypes it up a bit more, doesn't it? And gives a bit more sort of credence, a bit more credibility to, again, if Callum Smith wins, him going on and fighting the winner.
I think a good thing is, and the good thing about the Super Series in general is that, again, it follows next week. You know what I mean?
Oh, straight off the bat, yeah.
Keeps people interested.
So now you've talked there, already there's going to be more people with half an eye who've just tuned in for Groves-Eubank thinking, all right, well...
Oh, the other one's next week.
Yeah,
great, eh?
You could, if you bought both of them together, there was like a discount on the pay-per-view side of it as well. And
was it?
Yeah, it was like £6 off or something if you bought both of them.
Missed that.
Yeah, exactly. So, like that sort of thing, people think, oh, well, actually, I'm staying here next weekend as well. I might as well watch that. And maybe it's what Callum Smith needs. Like,
I think it is, Andrew. I think, honestly, I've discussed this in length. A bit of an discussion with a friend the other day. I think you were part of this as well. He was saying, Callum Smith beats either of these two. And I was like, I used to think that. And there was no bigger Callum Smith fan than me a few years back. But then I'm not so sure now. I'm not so sure if he does beat Groves. I feel like I looked at his box set the other day, Callum Smith, and sort of, between... his last fight against Scotland and say from like Ribras/Phelan, he's fought like 3 or 4 nobodies, and I just think he's been, we've discussed this anyway, haven't we, quite a lot, but he's been sort of floundering for a while, in this number 1 mandatory spot for WBC and stuff, and I don't know, he was the golden boy for a bit, Callum Smith, wasn't he? He was knocking everyone out, he looked fantastic in doing so, and just when he got at world level, it was just like either the brakes were put on him or he's just hasn't had the opportunities. I'm not sure which one it is, really.
You don't know where to lay the blame, really, because he was mandatory for Durrell, but then...
And then he got to fight Luke Blackledge.
Then like...
it was just,
But then there was rumours Durrell wanted to change the date and the venue at the last minute and stuff, and you're like, well, that's when he sort of, I think, the straw that brought Callum's back, and he signed up for the tournament.
Do you think Callum, Eddie, his team, Joe Gallagher, and all that have just looked and thought, like, just get him in the Super Series? You know, let's.
I think they've got enough belief in him.
Let's back him. Let's get him in there. And I think maybe it's because the Scotland fight again was sort of quite low key. It was in Liverpool, but I don't know how well it's sold, and it was a while ago now, and he's going to Germany now again. Out of the way, hasn't had nowhere near the hype that this one last night.
I think it's the way the tournament brackets have fallen.
But the further the closer it's coming now, the more I'm looking forward to it. And again, it's 6 days away, and you think, right, this is now the time for Callum Smith to stand up and, like you said, and win it well, and say, I am still the fighter that I was, and the fighter that people thought, bloody hell, this Callum Smith's special, isn't he?
Because on the flip side of it, when the tournament was sort of decided, everyone was like, oh, well, Callum Smith's got the easier route to the final. But he's suffered from the lack of exposure and lack of attention on that side of the tournament.
Yeah,
so it's both ways. He's done well in the fact that he's got maybe an easier route to the final. He hasn't had to fight Groves-Eubank before the final, but attention-wise, he's just gone under the radar a little bit.
But it's because he's a lovely lad as well, isn't it? He's a nice lad. He's not a trash talker. He's not a gobshite. You know what I mean? He's just
exactly
a nice fella, and
I think hopefully next week he lets his boxing do the talking.
I think so. I expect him to win it.
I'm just going to address some of the questions we've had because we've answered one already, I think. Paul Altai has asked, do you think if Groves' injury needs the final to go back a month that they should do that?
Yes.
He's won 2 fights in his place, which I think we've mentioned as well, but they did say they would not hang about for no one if injuries happen to begin with. So again, we've sort of said that, but I think we're both in agreement that there should be a bit of an exception made.
I think he's won 2 fights. He's won the second one, extremely well. I think you can't bin him off now. He's been a big part of the Super Series. You know what I mean?
It's a great shout. What you say as well, though, the fact he is a Sauerland fighter,
he's a Sauerland fighter.
Whether deservedly or not, he might get preferential treatment.
He's a Sauerland fighter. He's great value. He's great value talking wise, and press conferences, and people paid £17 or whatever last night. He's as much as the Super Series is a great format, it needs fighters to drag it along with it.
He's the number 1 seed, and he's the biggest sort of presence in it. I think, especially now he's beat Eubank.
Of course he is. But I just think
he wasn't the betting favourite, which surprised me as well. I think that was Callum Smith when it started.
And I just think I think come on, he's won 2 fights. He's been great. He's been a great draw for the competition and stuff. And I just think, the goodwill that's came from the Super Series is because, it's been seamless so far, and now he's, it would be a shame, like you said, to have a final with a deserved, recognised finalist not in it. If he is injured, and if George Groves says, I'm sorry, but I can't make this day and I can't make the next day, then fine, go ahead with that one. But
this brings you on to the next question. Go on. As a sort of follow-up from Tim Brown. If Groves was out,
Tim lad,
who would you want to step in? So, we've said both there, we've agreed ideally it gets put back and Groves is fit enough and he fights Smith Bramer winner. That's the ideal dream scenario here. But, devil's advocate, if, like you've just said there, he's injured, he can't make June, they try and say, we'll put back till July, August, still can't make it.
Zach Parker. It'll be like a real life Rocky story, that.
Seamlessly bringing into the next one. We'll tick off all the questions in one go.
That wasn't a serious answer, but
Kev Morrow asked how far can Zach Parker go. Looks better than the likes of Cox already. Now, I haven't seen a lot of him, to be honest. I watched he was on the undercard and he did look impressive. He was sort of the first reserve.
I read that
last night. So if there had been an injury before last night, the main event, Parker could have been feasibly in there against.
I think he's been another one. He's been another one that the Super Series has been good for. When I say that, I mean in the terms that you haven't got Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren behind it, so you're not really having their fighters on the undercards. So you're looking for other UK fighters who aren't really with big name promoters, and to fill your undercards. And I think that's the 3rd one he's now been on. And there was another guy on there last night, Craven. I know he's lost both fights, but he's been on both. And you just think, actually, this Zach Parker now is won 3 times on Super Series undercards. What a chance it's been for him! What an opportunity! He's probably gone. Not that I've checked much of his career to date, but he's probably gone from fighting in small shows around the Midlands. Took this chance, they've probably said, all right, we need a someone who's a decent selling super middleweight from Blood, you know.
And now he's mandatory for
he was the reserve.
the British as well.
Mandatory, which I heard what you feeling vacated, actually.
Then
so maybe he doesn't fancy him.
Well, Kev's mentioned there, Jamie Cox, Parker being ahead of Cox, I think that would be a cracking little scrap
It's
for
a great
the
fight, that.
British.
It's hard to gauge, in answer to Kev's question, it's hard to gauge Zach Parker because, you know, we don't know much about him. Is he a domestic fighter who's, you know, probably been doing really well, you know, local Midland shows, and who's just needed the opportunity a bit like Lewis Ritzenmoss, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now he's had this fantastic chance and he's grasped it with both hands. Is he any better than, say, your domestic super middleweight? If he's like, as you say, what you feel in Jamie Cox, who knows? You'll never know until I guess he fights someone half decent. But he looked good last night against.
And he seems to be in, as you say, in a good position.
He looked good last night against, admittedly not up against much.
To do so.
Aye.
So then, say Zach Parker aside, I mentioned obviously the other world champions. Really, that's ideally who you want to get in there. But then, from a Callum Smith, Joe Gallagher point of view, are they not? It's hard to say. I'm not knocking them, but are they going to be unhappy with, say, right? Well, we're paying big bucks now to get Ramirez or whoever. Is it Benavidez? One of them as well. Get them across. One of them across.
He has a dark horse at James DeGale. Because he's still,
I'd like to say that,
he's still got value in this country. He's still a name in this country, and he's still, you know, if he somehow won it, for example, just hear us out here, then there's still meaningful fights to make on the back of that.
Oh, massively.
And it's a chance for James DeGale. All right, admittedly, it's just like someone plucking you and say, right, you're now in the FA Cup final, here's your chance. It's a chance for him to say, right, I'm not finished, and, you know, I'm still a good fighter and I'll beat you. I don't know how that'll work and how people's egos will just suddenly allow James DeGale to be plucked into the final of the Super Series.
That's the main issue with this, isn't it? If you do
George Groves pulls out with a bad shoulder, gets a phone call off Calais Sowell, and sorry mate, but just to let you know, we're going to put James in the final instead of you. You know.
But he'd be raging again. How would Joe Gallagher react to fighting DeGale on relatively short notice?
Well, that's it. It's.
I think the lad that beat DeGale as well, Caleb Truax, Eubank called him out as well, and I think he did so because he sees him as the weakest champion.
That's an interesting one.
That could be another.
It could be an option because
for Truax.
It could be a money spinner for Truax. It's a fighter that, no disrespect to Truax, that a lot of super middleweights will fancy themselves to beat.
Oh, they'd be queuing up,
so,
I imagine.
do you know what I mean? I think that would go down a lot. You know, that would go down better with people than you know, putting like a bigger name there. So that's an option, but I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope it just keeps running smoothly.
Well, yeah, that's fingers crossed.
Let's hope. I think this. I don't know, it was a bit of a worry last night, and as I said, it seems to have sent everyone in a bit of a frenzy this morning, this George.
Because it's the first time it's happened in the tournament, everyone's been praising it, how smoothly it's gone, and I think one of the main reasons it's gone so well is because nothing's gone wrong with it, and now something possibly has. It's a bit like, right now, what's going to happen? How's it actually going to play out in reality? Because in theory, they've done everything they can. They're saying, right, well, we're not going to win the date. If you can't make it, someone else is going to come in, brilliant, blah, blah, blah. Which is fine at the quarter-final stage. Say, for example, Groves pulled out injured early on, you throw Parker in or whoever, or Fagan Butts, whoever the reserve was at the time, against Jamie Cox, and then the winner still has to prove themselves and go all the way in the tournament. But the problem's what you've just said there, someone getting plucked, almost getting a bye, missing out the hard fight in the quarter-final, hard fight in the semi-final, and going straight into the final.
I'm sure there's going to be no part of George that thinks, oh, sorry, I've beat Eubank, I've had me time, like, let's not put it all on the line against Callum Smith. I'm sure George will want that fight, won't he?
I think he wants the glory of winning it, and then it wouldn't surprise me after that
the money.
to see. Well,
Is it 20 million quid, did I hear?
I don't know, I think it was 50 split between the
Imagine Zach Parker winning that. 20 million quid to Zach Parker. That is Rocky, that, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's really like Rocky. But no, credit him. I wasn't meaning to mock him or anything. I just think like...
No, I think it's just the obscurity, isn't it? The fact that in the eyes of most viewers, he would seem to have come from nowhere.
But I think it's great that someone's... I think it's great that someone's asking us questions about him now, because, you know, without this opportunity he's had, you wouldn't be. Do you know what I mean? You'd just be still, you know, along the super middleweight scene, and just looking at his box fight there, he's beat Luke Blackledge. That's decent, you know, first round knockout. Luke Blackledge.
Oh, he's got good power. He stopped the lad in the second round last time. Like, he caught him with an absolute lovely hook, and then followed up with sort of 3 right hooks and finished him with a left. It was really like good finish. Sort of sensed he had him hurt and put it on him.
he's beat Bradley Price as well and knocked him out. A lot of random foreigners on there as well, but
they're always going to be.
He's going to be, aye. But no, fair play to him. He's box fighter got ranked 7th now in UK super middleweight above Jamie Cox.
Well, that's the thing is, you say if he's up there, and you think, well, you've got Groves, De Gale, Eubank Jr., who all see themselves as above domestic.
There's some good fighters.
Why not get himself in the mix for the British?
Like, you could put him in with a lot of names on this list, yeah, like John Ryder, Jamie Cox, David Brophy, Mark Heffron, you know what I mean? There's some good fights to be made in and around that sort of domestic scene there, especially for breaking British titles now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Rocky has vacated, so I'll have to find out what Rocky's doing actually. He follows us on Twitter. Oh God, 1-0. Nice goal that.
Great finish.
If you wonder what we're watching, we've got the football on mute here in the background. Hamilton have just scored against Rangers. But,
sorry to any Rangers fans listening.
No, he's loving it. So no, I will have to. It's always been an interesting division in this country, isn't it? So I think you'll get no shortage of applicants for the final if indeed it doesn't. But I guess that's a decision for Sauerland and people, and other people like that to make, innit? So
as I say, I hope that Groves gets his chance to sort of to do it. And
touch wood.
Yeah,
Me too.
Basically, he's earned it, and. As I say, the fact he's one of my favourite boxers is irrelevant in this case. Like, whoever was in that position, I'd feel the same. That you want to see that it's the best. The whole point of a tournament format is it's elimination. It's the best moving on, progressing to the next round, and you want to see a final between the two lads that have beaten everyone else in the tournament.
You would hope there's already sort of rules and regulations in place about this, and it just doesn't become one massive, messy, legal, ego-driven. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
And because it could get really messy here if indeed it does.
I think
happen,
hopefully again we're sort
crossed.
of saying Callum Smith, but even if it's Bramer, he's another Sauerland fighter. So I think the fact that the Sauerlands are sorting this and they have got a good close working relationship with Matchroom, you'd like to think common sense prevails and they can work it out.
But it would like hypothetically it would have to be a name, wouldn't it? Because you couldn't be like, oh, it's Callum Smith versus Vincent Fagan, but at the O2. It would stink.
Well, that's the thing, it's still got to headline the O2, and the O2's apparently been booked and stuff, so for that date, so it's still got to be an attractive fight.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just, like, it's different if, say, I don't know, I'm trying to think who was sort of, like, Jamie Cox was one of the outsiders for the tournament. If he'd gone on and, if he'd earned his way and won his way to the final, then his name will be bigger than it is now, whereas you can't just pluck someone, as you say, sort of fringe, like European domestic level and say, well, they were
Callum Smith's South Park with the O2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's an interesting one. I didn't even think they were like that. Especially if they wanted it on ITV box office again, which they will.
16.95 for Parker versus Smith.
Stranger things have happened in boxing.
True, mate. Should we saw last night then, basically, bit of a masterclass from George Groves, boxing masterclass. Against a very disappointing Groves-Eubank, I guess. Really.
Again, like I can't remember who it is, so I'm not deliberately avoiding giving credit here. But I did read a tweet saying that Groves taught him a lesson, but Eubank won't learn that lesson.
No, true.
Will he learn from it? And that's basically
now.
what's happened, isn't it? That Groves has beaten him comfortably. But even in I hope it's just sort of the post-fight bravado where Eubank's saying, I thought I did enough in the late rounds to beat him. Surely he looks at that in the collated day.
No, he didn't. No.
And says that I was second best.
He was short. I came up short.
He needs to acknowledge his limitations. That's what I got from that. And to be honest, that's what I've got from
I think his dad
his previous fights.
But
that's the thing. Hopefully, if he has realised that, and
this is the second time now he's been beaten by a
boxer. But the first time, as you say, there was still sort of harping on that he'd won and trying to cling to that. And
he did finish it well actually that time.
His dad, for the first time, has really acknowledged and admitted his technical flaws. Saying he didn't throw the jab, he was loading up on big shots. So hopefully, if they can go away and work on that, I don't think Senior would be a terrible cornerman. No, I really don't. He's got enough knowledge and experience that he knows boxing, but it's the way.
If Senior spoke like he did in that post-fight interview last night, and drop the gimmick of this Warriors code and all this, get the referee and to protect people, and he spoke honestly and clarity like he did last night. I thought it was a great interview. That
speaking about individuals talking with honesty and quite candidly, I think while I enjoyed the boxing, one of the highlights of the show last night was probably Prince Naseem Hamed's shall I say, generously describe it as a bit of a rant.
It was brilliant. It was just pure passion. It came across to me as a man that had a fair bit of money on Eubank, to be honest, because he was foreman after the fight.
Just as a introduce this as one of our questions, and then I think we'll tick them all off. Terry Chaplin-Dharma at the Seven Wolves on Twitter. He's part of the New Age Boxing podcast. I like Terry. I like what he's got to say. He's been known for a few rants in his time as well, actually. Where he says, has Prince Naseem Hamid shown ex-boxers how you're supposed to summarise a fight?
Yes, honestly, I tweeted about it last night. I did. He was brilliant. It was just pure passion, and it was telling a few home truths that people have probably not wanted to slam Eubank here, but just, he summed it up. He said he's not good enough. There was no fundamentals there, and he just really went to town on him, but in a constructive way. But it was refreshing.
I don't think it was particularly constructive. What you've just said there, he strikes me as a man who had a lot of money, and there was a few different points of view you can look at it.
Well, maybe it wasn't constructive, but
he backed Eubank before the fight. He was breaking down how he was going to do it, and he was going to beat Groves and all this, and then after the fight, he's literally, over the course of one fight, talk about like a knee-jerk reaction, he's gone from saying, oh, this kid's going to win the tournament and beat Groves and beat anyone in the division, to suddenly he's no good at all. Not that he's like lacking a little bit. He's no good at all. He hasn't got this. He hasn't got that. He'll never make it. He should retire.
I think he was that disappointed in the performance, mate. I think he was quite taken aback by what he'd seen. Quite shocked at how poor it was. He was telling Duke McKenzie to shut up. He was cutting off him. I thought,
at one point, he asked which camera he needs to look into. It was like a missing dog appeal. He was looking down the lens of the camera.
And as much as we're laughing here, honestly though, I think it was refreshing. I loved it. I think because you're used to the sanitised world of Sky, you know what I mean? And they wouldn't have went in like, and I thought,
well, that's the problem, and I think that's what, I'm not reading between the lines there, but I think that's what Terry's hinting at. Most of the boxing coverage we see is on Sky, and the main issue for me is that all the pundits, they work together. They've either trained together as boxers, or they're in with that sort of very close knit family at Sky.
Well, that's it, and I think he was just, I loved it, and maybe it was harsh, I don't know, but
it was harsh, but in the same vein, I think he's benefited Nas there from being on ITV. It's not like it's a regular gig for him. He's got no affiliation or no rapport or relationship with the Eubanks.
I was still half expecting the presenter to shut him up though and cut him off a bit.
Oh, he didn't dare.
He didn't dare.
As you say, Duke McKenzie's sort of trying to reel him in a bit and be a bit more realistic with it, a bit more reasonable.
I just thought it was a really good post-fight sort of passionate sort of, I was going to say analysis, but there wasn't much analysis. It was just a really passionate.
It wasn't in certain aspects of it. He did talk about some of the technical flaws, but
I honestly feel it was just disappointing what he's seen. Really disappointed by him, and I think, especially as he went out on a limb, he's predicted him beforehand, and I just think you're talking. Your thing is with Naz, and you forget about him because you see him sometimes. He's in the crowd, and people, he's looking big now, isn't he? You know what I mean? You see the daft gifs and the memes.
Yeah.
But he's an absolute great at British boxing, do you know what I mean? He's an elite fighter, and you don't hear as much from him as you should. He doesn't get a punditry gig ever, so I was surprised to see him in
it's very rare.
And I thought, God, what's he going to be like? Is he going to be a bit, around the twist, a bit like Gaza? And is he? I know nothing about this.
Yes, he was. But
I just thought, give the man an opportunity to speak, and if you can't take it from Naz, and if you can't let him speak, then who can you?
Well, you've just mentioned there about his ability, and I think a lot of what he possessed, it was that sort of unorthodox style, and he had a variety in his shots. He didn't fight like a normal traditional boxer would, and maybe that's why he was sort of so keen on Eubank. I'm not saying ability wise, but similarities in style there, and then to go from that to seeing what he did, it obviously hit a nerve somewhere along the line.
Either that was hit his wallet.
But but do you not think there's a similarity between some of the football pundits we see, and the example I'm thinking of is Roy Keane, in that
good point,
in his own career he had such high standards that when he went to be a manager he couldn't necessarily cope with players who didn't have that same drive or that same professionalism or same natural ability as he did. So he's looking at it thinking, well, I won world titles, blah blah blah, and all the you know what I mean? Eubank, what you're going to do differently, and really sort of put it on him. And
it was brilliant though. I haven't seen anyone with a bad word to say about him. I just think in these days of, you know, Teams and Sky and BT and stuff, just to hear someone speaking so honestly and candidly, was brilliant.
I think as well,
looked at me.
Again, if you look on social media, a lot of the Sky pundits have been just as, not maybe as angry and dramatic as Nas was, but just as open and honest about Eubank. And I think it speaks volumes that they're doing that and saying that, and he's not a Sky matchroom fighter. Like the likes of Paul Smith and Bellew openly criticised him. I know Bellew did a bit of work with TalkSport last night, so commentating on that. He didn't listen to it, I watched on the telly. But since on Twitter they've agreed and basically not slagged him off, but criticised him certainly. And you think, would they be as candid with somebody else in the matchroom stable as that? Like,
probably not, no.
Like Jamie Moore is one pundit who I think speaks a lot of sense, and as a trainer he seems to be sort of building his reputation all the while.
Doesn't he just?
Commentating on, I think it was a Paul Smith fight, he was sort of saying that Smith was in the fight, and I think it was the his name escapes me now, the his most recent world title in Tyrone Zoiga fight, and he was making it sound as though Smith was doing well and he was competitive, and he just wasn't.
No, I know, I wasn't.
I understand that, he's your mate, so you're going to build it up. It's like, obviously, we know certain boxers better than others, and we watch them live, and you want to see the best in them, but when you're in a position of, almost a position of trust, because there are fans out there who are relying on your input and your expertise to get an idea of what's going on. Knowledgeable boxing fans can sit and watch it and make their own mind up and think, well, I'm not going to commentate on what you're talking about. I'm not talking about Jimmy Moore specifically here, I'm talking about anyone.
Yeah.
You can disagree, you can agree, you can think their scorecard's ludicrous, whatever. But if you're a more casual fan and you're just sort of watching the boxing, you're listening to the pundits and you're relying on what they're saying as truth almost. And
I enjoyed the Duke McKenzie-Nas double act, actually. I think they're sort of like the two forgotten men.
I think it's a bit refreshing because they're not on as often. And
no, they're not.
As I say, all of the sort of Sky ones.
And they've won the lot, do you know what I mean? And you sort of, you forget about the two of them in a way, you know what I mean? You don't see them as much, and especially Nas, as you say, he's a bit of an enigma these days, you know, but I enjoyed it, honestly, I did. I thought it was great to see him. Whether he'll get the gig again for the final or next week, who knows?
I hope to God he's there next week.
Fly him out of Germany in ITV box office, get him out there, but I'll get him in the studio.
Well, just to sort of answer Terry's question, he's saying, is that how pundit should be? And if by honest and passionate, then most definitely yes. Yeah. I think there's a fine line between going on a rant and
digging someone out.
Generally being upset or disappointed or angry with someone's performance than just saying it.
Goalkeeper.
Absolutely shocking.
Goalkeeper, what are you doing?
If anyone can watch the second Rangers goal against Hamilton, you need to get on that. We'll see if we can find that and post it on our Twitter.
That's brilliant.
I've totally lost my train of thought there.
What are we talking about?
That's angry reactions and...
It's even worse than the replay. Shocking that.
Honesty from pundits. It has to be... Yes, that's the minimum we expect, is that someone can go on and give an honest critique and honest description of what's going on in the ring. If they then add to that with technical knowledge and expertise and maybe pointing out little things that we can't see, then again, all of that is brilliant. That's what we want as boxing
viewers. You don't just want backslapping and But I love him.
I think it's possible to go too far, and then that's where you have your pundits again, sort of linked to the football and watching it. But the equivalent of Robbie Savage or a Chris Sutton, who generally just sort of say things
just for
to get the reaction. Again, that's just as daft as the sort of bland, or just as pointless and inane as the bland pundits who don't really point anything out. It needs to be that balance, and again, as I say, honesty, a bit of openness, and hopefully a bit of expertise that your average Joe on the street doesn't know. It should be a relatively simple gig, really.
Well, that's it. It should be, but
for the people who are involved, I mean, not necessarily for everyone, but if you're a world champion boxer, you should be able to point out flaws and good things as well, positives, what a boxer's doing and why they're doing it, and just give that bit of professional insight that
and I think the reaction
your fans aren't going to be totally aware of.
The reaction that Nas is getting as well is just proves to people, people want a bit of honesty, don't they? Do you know what I mean? People want a bit
as you say, whether he's lost money in it or he's just lost a bit of credit, I don't know.
He must still have some money in that, surely, mustn't he?
Well, you'd think so.
You'd hope so. Who knows?
That's strange. I think he's out in boxing again. Wouldn't be the first and won't be the last boxer to go pro.
I'd love to meet him. Legend. But I know that was good. Any more questions?
No, that's all the questions I think there were a few more, but that's all to do with sort of the event last night, which obviously we're focusing on. Did you see the Isaac Lowe Ryan Walsh fight on the undercard?
Missed it. Was it
absolute cracker.
Family engagement thing?
Well worth watching.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think...
Draw.
It was a draw, and I think it was one of those where a draw was a fair result. I had Lowe winning...
Cracker in what way?
Just two good, British level, honest professionals, both fighting boxing really well. Differently as well, the styles just seemed to gel.
Who did you have win it?
I thought Lowe had done enough to win it.
Right.
I can't remember the scorecards. I think one scored it for each very closely, one for Walsh, one for Lowe, and then one scored it even.
Mm-hmm.
But they both sort of agreed to do it again. There's a bit of mutual respect there.
Yeah.
They want to do the rematch, and
Might as well.
it wasn't the most dramatic fight. There weren't any knockdowns. There wasn't any bad blood, any all this fake beef drummed up, and all the interest and anything like that. Just from a boxing point of view, they were both giving a really good go. Lowe was sort of setting the faster pace, moving in and out. And a lot of the question marks with that one were similar to the main event in a way, whether Lowe had never been the 12 before, could he, or not as often. I don't know if he had or not. I don't think he had. Whether he could maintain that sort of pace for 12 rounds anyway.
Yeah.
And he did, to be fair to him. I think Walsh came back into the fight and probably finished the stronger, but Lowe had done enough. 2-2.
Oh, I missed it.
But Lowe had done enough to I think to, as I say, have edged it, but by 1 or 2. You know what I mean? It was close, and there's no real complaints with the draw.
What was
hopefully, honestly, I'd love to see it again.
What was the Langford on-field fight like?
That wasn't as action-packed, but still a relatively entertaining fight in a boxing sense. Langford was generally the busier. Yeah, he edged it comfortably for me. He was won by a good few rounds. On-field, got a bit of joy when he sort of kept it at distance, but he couldn't... And again, this is through Langford, credit to Tommy Langford there.
Yeah.
He couldn't keep him off him, and wasn't total dominant by any means, but it was engaging enough, and a professional performance, I think is the best way to describe it from Langford. He outworked him, he got in close, landed some good work to the body on occasions, and deservedly got the nod, and obviously another one who retained his British title in slightly different circumstances.
I like Tommy Langford. I'm glad to see him come back. He got bit off Kurt Sidziwood, didn't he?
It was a brutal knockout, that, and again, it's just sort of highlights that difference between sort of British and world level. And I know we've talked about this in other podcasts I listen to and mention it a lot, that there seems to be this fascination with padding the record out a little bit, getting your WBO, your WBC, WBA, whatever organisation is, these fringe titles, getting a world ranking, and then suddenly what happens is your boxer's in a fight, again similar to Eubank really, he's in a fight where he hasn't really had any suitable preparation in the ring for it, and Langford again, he's a perfectly good boxer, and at British level he probably is the best middleweight, but
credit to
ruling out Billy Joe Saunders at that point, but and that's why he's the British champion, fair play, that's where he is, and yes, he's obviously going to be looking towards European and world level, but it's a big jump boxing someone like Sam Sheedy to then going in with Kurt Sidziwood, who's not the most technically gifted, but obviously a devastating puncher, and
I think credit
is a level above that where you've been operating.
Credit to Super Series and Sauerland and whoever the matchmakers are for putting these fights together, because as you say, they're getting fighters who aren't attached basically to any major UK promoter and putting some good fights together, like Langford on-field, Lowe Walsh, you know what I mean? Simon Villily was meant to have an English title fight last night on there against Iqbal, which fell through last minute, but it was a short undercard, but a good you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing,
decent
just
level.
a little shout out to Simon Villily, got the knockout.
Good on him, I've just seen that there on Twitter. Good.
Nice to see he sort of bounced back.
I'm glad he still got a fight.
He boxed Menduo on the.
Did he fight Menduo last night again?
I think so. Yeah, I didn't see any of it, and then that was they were trying to get in, but he looked in great shape as well, Villily, in the build up, and at least he got that fight, and hopefully the Iqbal one can get rearranged and they can get that on. But if you look through, and again from a bookie perspective, the odds on those fights, Lowe and Walsh were both 10-11 last week. Eubank was a slight favourite, and Groves, obviously we know how that one went. Langford again was 1-2, so getting really close.
It was good.
That's what you're a boxing fan, whether you're a self-professed hardcore fan or you're a casual. You want to see competitive fights like that.
50-50 fights.
Yeah. looking ahead to what's coming up in the next few weeks, obviously I've already mentioned Callum Smith. I think we'll both expect him to do the business in Germany.
Let's hope so, yeah, definitely.
I think he'll stop Bremer. I'm going to put my neck on the line, so I think he'll stop Bremer around the midpoint 6 or 7 rounds.
Aye. No, I think so. I think, again, like just to sum up what I said earlier, this is a big chance for Callum Smith, to really kick on again and sort of start that phase 2 of his career and really show people that he's still that fighter that people thought he was, and that he is a really good world level super middleweight, and I think it's a great chance for him to do that in Germany against Bremer as well. So hopefully a week today,
a little bit closer to home,
a week today you've got
fair bit of northeast action actually.
We'll start with
Iran on the road.
Lewis Witson and his first defence of his British lightweight title on a week today in Manchester against Joe Murray in Manchester.
Yeah, it's on the next gen card at the Victoria Warehouse in Manchester.
That's the one.
Another venue to tick off the list if we manage to get down for
that's it. I hope at least one of us will, definitely. But it's been, I don't know if you saw a recent YouTube video interview with Lewis, which is
if not, you need to get on that.
Get on that, have a look. Honestly, he's great. He's a great lad, great interview.
We've said he's probably one of the easiest people we've had to interview, and there's been a fair bit of debate actually about like video interviews and stuff. I mean, because we started it and asked questions, but like the sort of the quality of them and how I think the product in general of them, by definition, it's going to be repetitive because at press conferences and things, they all follow a similar format. So if you're like an independent website like us, or if you're with a big national newspaper, whatever, you're going to be asking a similar line of question. Yes, depending on how much time you have with the boxer, you can ask a bit more, be a bit more probing with your questions.
Well, that's it, and I think.
But he's just one you can ask a little simple question to, and he's off. And it's not just he's not talking for the sake of it. You could sit and listen to him all day as well, and he speaks a lot of sense, and he's very open and honest.
He says he's shy as well, which is a lot of shit.
He says he hates the press conference side of things, and we can never shut him up.
I feel like I've known him for 10 years. We've only interviewed him twice, but honestly, he's a good lad, and that's a first defence. I think he's touched on a few frustrations recently, a couple of fights that fell through and stuff, but I expect Lewis to do the business, to be honest with you.
Well, this is it. I don't think his personality will do him any harm in the long run. He'll continue to sort of attract fans and build a following, but at the end of the day, spouting cliches and stuff, it's what he does in the ring that's going to count, and I think he's got that on his side as well. He's a very, very talented boxer.
I'll put this on record now, right, on this podcast. Lewis Witson beats any lightweight in the country apart from Luke Campbell. He might even beat like, you know what I mean? Any dirty lightweight, Lewis will beat the what? I beat him in that. No, the route for Lewis has to be right. Joe Murray beat, Cardle beat, then win the Lonsdale belt outright, fighting either the winner of Coyle versus Dodd for Lewis's title and the Commonwealth. I think he couldn't give any better 2018 to 4-2. What a game this is! Hamilton Rangers, 34 minutes.
It's not ideal for doing a podcast in front of. Normally we try and just disguise what we're doing in the background, but
Josh Windass.
This is taking the. I think what you've just said there regarding Ritson is probably, if you read Eddie Hearn's mind, that's going to be on the agenda, isn't it? It's in that interview. Lewis mentioned that Eddie had asked him sort of which one he wanted to fight next, and he sort of made his pick or whatever. And he said, "No, you're going to be fighting all of them." And he's signed to a 5-fight deal in Matchroom, and there's obviously going to be a target there,
progression
for where Hearn and Matchroom expect him to get to and expect him to be. Lewis himself, very sensibly, is taking it one fight at a time, but he knows the opportunities that are there for him. So
that's it. I think that would be a perfect 2018 for Lewis if he could, if he could fit all these 3 fights in this year. I don't know, but I think they want him to be active. So
it depends how the fights go.
As we touched on,
just looked at Groves there, the injuries and things, but there's no reason if he gets through them all right. Then,
as we touched on in the interview, there's no shortage of opponents, as you said, who are either with Matchroom or willing to work with Matchroom. You know what I mean? So it's almost like a little super series in its own little way.
Again, I mean,
Cardle's desperate for
we're focusing on Ritson, but then either of those, obviously Cardle's fought Dodd a few times already. Tommy Coyle's put yourself in that
all
mix
good
as
lads,
well.
all good lads and good characters too.
Honest pros, isn't it? They seem just
they'll fight anyone.
They'll all do like back up the words and fight anyone, and
especially Masha Dodd and Tommy Coyle. Do you know what I mean?
I think around that level as well, though, the British title is still a massive goal for all of those boxers. So hopefully they'll all get together, and any combination of them, as I say, I'd agree with you, to be honest. I do favour Lewis against him. I think he's got that freshness and the momentum. I think the others obviously do have a bit of edge and experience, but not at a massively higher level than where Lewis is at the moment.
He never looks phased, Lewis, though, does he? You know what I mean? He just comes. Yeah, he never looks bothered. Like,
well, you talk about Luke Campbell, mentioning our interview. He said he'd have fought him if it had come down to that. And
he said, "If I can get through the first 4 rounds, then I'll be happy." Again, a week today, we've got another North East show, haven't we, Steve Wraith?
We have, yeah. It's the Lancaster. I was going to say Dunstan Fed there, the old name.
Lancastrian Street, Gateshead. Bless Steve. He put together a really, really good build to start with. You know, there's two 50-50 challenge belt local derby fights in there. It was cracking. And then it's sort of, as you get with local shows, I guess he's been besieged by pull-outs, dropouts, and I think he's
injuries all sorts.
Credit to Steve and credit to the teams. I think he's still managed to resurrect some sort of bill, hasn't he?
So from like the North East point of view, Ellis Corey's on the bill.
Corey from Dalton.
He's made his debut last time out in Dalton. We saw.
Good fighter.
Or arranged with his trainer Pete Shepperson to go and speak to them in the gym at some point this week.
Paul Gidney's still on there. He was meant to be fighting for the challenge.
I just hope he gets a fight.
He's desperate for a fight. He's been through a lot as well personally.
He was meant to be fighting on that Dalton bill, and then his opponent pulled out. He was meant to be fighting Chrissy Woods for the.
I really want to go and see him. Actually,
is that was it for the Northern Area?
No, the challenge. It wasn't. It was the challenge. They applied for the Northern Area, but I don't think they got it. And Chrissy Woods decided to pack it in, which who knows what the story there is. But he's been through a lot, hasn't he, Paul, with his little daughter and stuff.
And another Malgates fighter, Sam Menzies.
Full debut, Pocket Rocket.
Yeah, he's on the bill, and we'd seen him a while back in the gym actually when he was sort of thinking of turning over, doing a bit of pad work and stuff.
And he looks sharp, doesn't he?
So it'd be interesting to see how he gets
I keep meaning to want to go down and see Malgate. It's just hard to try and fit everyone in, isn't it? But we'll either see them there, and do something afterwards with them maybe. Have a word. But no, that's
thinking out loud there, planning our interviews.
But no, credit to Steve for salvaging that, and
and that one's during the day, isn't it? So hopefully
it's a day show.
One of us will definitely get to that one, and then one of it, or if not both, hopefully get down to Manchester.
That's it. Definitely for Lewis. So that's a good weekend local wise. Good Sunday. Just a quick thanks to Dave Binns, Tom Binns, and all the team at East Durham College Boxing Gym. We went down there on Thursday night just to meet the lads, do a few video interviews and stuff. Hopefully they met everyone's high standards of video interviews. But no, honestly, it was great. We talked to the 4 pro fighters that are training for upcoming fights. So please have a look on our website or on YouTube if you want to see those. Glenn Foote.
I was going to say there was some genuinely entertaining interviews there. There was some good crack with the lads, and
I think Glenn Foote as well was honestly just to say a big thanks to him. Like, he came back down to the gym just to see us.
He'd been in during the day.
He'd done his training during the day.
Then he came specifically in the evening just to speak to us. Which was really appreciate that. Darren
Richardson and the 2 Hill brothers, Tom and Joe Hill, popular Hill brothers, are flying those interviews on Facebook with those 2 and Twitter.
Well, we said in the interviews, didn't we? We talked about their fan base, and honestly, the following Tom up to Newcastle for his second pro fight was unbelievable. Like, he had a big loud following in Hartlepool. You think fair enough, not as far to travel, but Newcastle on a Friday night was exactly the same, and obviously Joe's going to benefit from that when he makes his pro debut.
He's not even on. As well. They're not even on Twitter, but the video's flying on Twitter. I keep getting tweets every day, up the borough and all this. Alright, cheers. But so they were all 4 of them were a pleasure to speak to. And just like Andrew said earlier about video interviews, I know it's a prickly subject.
This is one if you want to get a reaction out of Stephen, just mention video interviews.
I know it's a prickly subject, this song, right? And there's some good and there's some bad out there, right? But there's some good and some bad written journalists as well. It's like, I think there's a snobbery around written video interviews, mate. And I think people just think, oh, you're doing a video interviews, you're trying to be Cougar Cassius. It's like, no, bollocks, no, we're not. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think anyone's actually, can I just put this out there, no one has actually had a go at us or criticised our work. Like, some people will have, and I'm sure that they will again, but like, he takes us to heart regardless of anyone who's talking about anything. And it comes back to some tweet that Cougar Cassius was involved in, and someone was having a go at anyone with a video camera.
2012 or something. But that's not just what we do. It's been a recent thing for us, and we've got a website, and we do podcasts, and we do written articles, and a lot of other stuff. So, you know, we're a one-stop shop.
We were genuinely aware of, like, we didn't want to just be seen as someone who's like just rocks up to the sort of events and
with an iPhone,
looking for like
the,
the glamour side of it and the ego of it a bit. Like,
I've got an interview with Eddie Hearn, as much as we love.
Well, we have one. We had one previously, but like we made a sort of conscious effort, and we started off covering like local shows. We were going to the shows anyway, and we thought, well, we might as well just write a little bit about them, and if anyone's interested, then so be it. And I think one of the most popular features we've done is when we go to the small hall shows that aren't on TV or aren't streamed online, and just something as simple as like live updates Twitter. Updates on Twitter, and just to keep people in the loop. If you're not there, and you can't see it, basically, and there's obviously all sorts of circumstances for that. People working away,
well, that's it. I think so.
Things, and just have a little bit of general interest. It's nice. It's just something to sort of connect with our followers.
We interviewed a lot of fighters, just anyone from up and down the country, and we still will. We used to do a 10-question format, but we found that the personality of boxers didn't really come through as much in a 10-question. You know what I mean?
And that can be not just that format, but we've done ones where we've recorded them with like the dictaphone and then sort of transcripted them and added our own thoughts and bits in, and it can create a really good narrative, and far better writers than us will do that as well.
True.
But even them, those individuals, they might struggle to get the personalities of the boxer across rather than them as a writer, whereas the video interviews, you're speaking to the boxer and you can see them and you can see how they are as a person. Like the Lewis Ritson one's a brilliant example. Like Tom Hill was, I really enjoed that one.
Me too. It was class. It was good.
It was just a good like.
We try and bring people out of the show.
You get to have a little bit of a laugh with them,
and
be honest, like that's what the boxers need. Like,
and it is something we'll continue to do. And I just think, especially locally as well, why not? It does nobody any harm at all. And people want to come and have a go at us, then they can.
No one has yet. Again, I'm repeating this.
You know, we put the hard yards in and all. Anyway, but no, it's been a good week.
Stephen channeling he's in a Nas there.
Come and have a go at us about our video interviews. No, it's been a good week. It's a shame. As I say, it's a shame we can't get around everyone at once because we'd love to. You know what I mean? If anyone wants to pay for us to go full time, then so
shameless beg there, but yeah.
Honestly, we'd love it. We do as much as we can when time allows, and I think it's helped this week with Andrew being off work and stuff that we've got to do more things. But no, good week and a good week to come as well. So, thank you.
Thanks for listening again.
Cheers. Thanks.